Most people think of New Orleans when they imagine luxury living in this metro. The Garden District, Uptown, the French Quarter. And look, those neighborhoods are beautiful. But the most prestigious addresses, the biggest lots, and the oldest money in this entire region, they're sitting just across the 17th Street Canal, in a neighborhood most people outside Louisiana never have even heard of. Old Metairie, that's exactly why the people who live there love it. In the next 20 minutes, we're walking Metairie Road, Metairie Country Club Gardens, Oaklawn Drive, and Delimon Place. We're showing you what it costs, what you get, and what nobody tells you before you buy. I'm Margaret, born and raised right here, and we just closed on 232 St. Peter Street, representing the buyer side. So we know this market from the inside out. Hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. Now let's get into it. What makes Old Metairie different from anywhere else in the metro? So here's the first thing you need to understand. Old Metairie isn't part of New Orleans. It sits in Jefferson Parish, and that distinction matters more than most buyers realize when they first start looking out here. People hear suburb and they think they're giving something up. They're not. They're trading one version of New Orleans living for a completely different one, and in a lot of ways a better one, depending on what you're after. Start with the most obvious thing, space. In New Orleans proper, a beautiful home might sit on a 30-foot wide lot. You're close to your neighbors, you've got a small courtyard out back if you're lucky, and parking is whatever you can find on the street. Cross the 17th Canal and everything changes. Out here, we're talking half-acre estates with circular drives, 3-car garages, room for a pool, mature landscaping that took decades to grow, all of it within 10 minutes of the French Quarter. That's not a small thing. That's a completely different way of living. And then there's the Jefferson Parish side of the equation. Lower millage rates than Orleans Parish. A separate school system that draws families specifically because of it. Different insurance districts that can actually move the needle on your annual premiums. This is what we call the business of culture, the practical financial reasons why people who love New Orleans choose to live just outside it. The culture is still right here. The food, the music, the festivals. But the carrying costs of your home, the size of your lot, the quality of your schools, those are a different conversation entirely when you're in Jefferson. Now here's the part that most people don't know, and it's one of my favorite things about this neighborhood. Old Metairie sits on the Metairie Ridge, an ancient natural levee built up over thousands of years by the Mississippi River. Long before the French arrived, the Calapisa Indians used this ridge as a watch post. The word Calapisa actually means those who observe. They settled here because it was high ground, and in South Louisiana, high ground is not a small thing. It's everything. Monsignor Henry Bazou, the former pastor of St. Francis Xavier Church and one of the great historians of this area, described Metairie Road as the oldest expressway in the entire metropolitan area. He meant it literally. This ridge road predates the city of New Orleans itself. The early French settlers walked it, water up to their knees in the lower sections, because the ridge was the only reliable path through the marsh. That history is baked into every street, every oak tree, every home out here. When you cross the 17th Street Canal, coming from New Orleans, you feel it. The streets widen, the lots deepen, the oaks get older and heavier, and the canopy closes over you. It's a different pace, a different scale, a different sense of what home can mean. And we'll get into the renovation realities, what it actually costs to buy and update one of these estates. But first, let's walk the streets. Let's start where Old Metairie starts, on Metairie Road itself. Metairie Road and the architecture of old money. Metairie Road is where the story begins. Not just architecturally, not just historically, but literally, this is the ridge road Monsignor Bazou called the oldest expressway in the metro. The French walked it before New Orleans had a name. The Calapisa used it long before that. And today it's lined with some of the most architecturally significant homes anywhere in Louisiana. What you see when you drive Metairie Road is a very specific window of American American history. The homes here were built primarily between 1910 and 1930, right at the moment when a new kind of American suburb was being imagined, not the dense, narrow lot neighborhoods of New Orleans. This was something different. This was space, setbacks, garages, mature oak canopies that took a century to grow into what you see today. The dominant styles here are Tudor Revival, Colonial Revival, and Mediterranean, and they each have a very distinct look. The Tudor Revival homes are the ones with the steep gables, the half-timbering details on the upper facades, the stucco and brick combinations that make them feel like they were pulled from the English countryside and dropped onto a Louisiana ridge. Colonial Revival gives you symmetrical brick facades, formal entries, columns, classic American prestige architecture from the era when suburban meant something aspirational. And then there's the Mediterranean stock, with tile roofs, stucco arches, and shaded courtyards that feel completely at home in South Louisiana's climate. What separates these homes from anything you'll find in the Garden District isn't just age, it's scale. The Garden District was built for a different era, on narrower lots with a different relationship to the street. Out here on Metairie Road, you have deep setbacks, real yards, circular drives, and garages, things that simply don't exist in the 19th century New Orleans row house tradition. These homes were designed for a family with a car, with staff, with a way of living that required room to breathe. Now, right across from the homes on the south side of Metairie Road sits Metairie Cemetery, and it's worth a moment because it's one of the most unusual green spaces in the entire metro. Most people don't know this, but Metairie Cemetery was once a racetrack. After the Civil War, racing fell on hard times, and a group of businessmen purchased the property and converted it into a cemetery. But they kept the oval of the old racetracks as organizing structure. So today, the main drives of Metairie Cemetery still follow the curve of that original track, and the granite monuments and elaborate family tombs are arranged along what was once the straightway. It's genuinely beautiful and genuinely strange, and completely New Orleans in the best possible way. And directly across from the cemetery, at the New Orleans Country Club, there's a live oak that Monsignor Bazou identified as 303 years old. That tree was standing when Calapisa were still on this ridge. It's the oldest living thing on Metairie Road, and when you stand under it, you understand exactly how layered this place is. History here isn't a marketing angle, it's literally growing out of the ground. Now, when it comes to what homes on Metairie Road are actually selling for, we'll get into specific price ranges and days on market when we walk the properties. But understand this going in. The Metairie Road market moves. When a well-priced home hits this corridor, it doesn't sit. Buyers who are serious about this street need to be positioned before the listing goes live. And here's the thing we'll come back to. These homes are stunning from the street. The gabled roof lines, the oak canopy, the deep green lawns. But what's behind those walls? That's a whole other conversation. And it's one we're going to have in full before this video is over. Country Club Gardens and Oaklawn Drive. Here we are in the heart of Old Metairie. So you turn off Metairie Road and suddenly everything shifts again. The homes get bigger, the lots get deeper, the streets feel hard to describe until you've felt it yourself. This is Country Club Gardens, and if Metairie Road is the spine of Old Metairie, this is the heart. Gardens started taking shape in 1924, developed along the banks of Bayou Metairie. First homes went up in 1926, and the original draw, the thing developers used to pull buyers out here before the streets were even fully paved, was access to Metairie Country Club. Membership was part of the pitch. Buy here, become a part of this. That social architecture is still very much alive today, and we'll come back to it. The club itself opened its course in 1925. 110 acres designed by Seth Raynor, one of the most respected golf course architects in his era. Using templates holes modeled directly on the great courses of the the British Isles. Punch Bowl greens, Eden holes, Reedon par threes. For Louisiana, which had no tradition of that kind of golf design, this was genuinely new. The course has been restored multiple times since, most recently in 2021, and it remains one of the most historically significant golf designs in the entire South. But honestly, you don't need to play golf to understand why people want to live here. What you need to do is drive Oaklawn Drive. 4 rows of live oaks, 2 on each side of the street, their canopies grown together overhead into something that feels less like neighborhood street and more like the interior of a cathedral. Monsignor Bazou, the same historian and pastor we mentioned earlier, described it exactly that way. He said, standing on Oaklawn Drive reminded him of the nave of the Gothic cathedral, with the arching branches standing in for the vaulted stone. He was right. There's no street in this metro that looks like it. When someone asks why Old Metairie is worth it, this is the street we bring them to first. The homes along Oaklawn Drive and throughout Country Club Gardens lean colonial revival and Tudor revival, just like Metairie Road, but they're bigger. Deeper lots, more privacy from the street, more room between neighbors. These are homes built for families who intended to stay, and many of them have. The same names have been on some of these properties for 2 and 3 generations. And Oaklawn Drive isn't the only street worth knowing by name out here. North Line runs along, was originally the northern boundary of Old Carrollton Survey, and it's one of the widest residential streets in the entire neighborhood, with some of the deepest lots you'll find anywhere in Old Metairie. The homes along North Line sit well back from the street, behind mature landscaping that takes decades to grow, and the scale of the properties here reflects exactly why this corridor has always attracted buyers who are done compromising on space. Woodbine is different in feel, quieter, more tucked in, the kind of street where you don't end up unless you know where you're going. That's not a flaw, that's the whole point. The homes along Woodbine are some of the most privately situated in Country Club Gardens, and the buyers who end up here tend to be the ones who did their homework, drove every street and decided what privacy mattered most, decided that privacy mattered more than a prestigious address that everyone recognizes. Then there's Farnham Place, short gated and sitting at the upper end of what Country Club Gardens has to offer. It functions almost as a bridge between the historic character of the gardens and the newer luxury of Delimon Place. The homes here are substantial. We're talking custom builds and fully renovated estates with the kind of lot sizes and setbacks that simply don't exist anywhere closer to the city. Monsignor Bazou noted decades long ago that the railroad crossing near Farnham Place could block access for 10 to 15 minutes at a stretch, and buyers were still lining up to get in. That tells you everything you need to know about how this street is valued. Now, in terms of what you're actually getting for your money out here, Country Club Gardens sits in the price range that starts around $1.2 million and moves well past $3 million, depending on the lot, the condition, the recent updates, and whether the home has been touched since the 1980s or fully restored in the last 5 years. Square footage runs anywhere from 3,500 to 5,000 and 6,000 square feet on the larger estates. 4 and 5 bedroom homes with formal dining rooms, butler's pantries, detached garages, and gardens that have been tended for decades. Days on market in this submarket are short when the pricing is right. We're often talking 2 to 3 weeks for a well-presented home at fair value. And there's the thing about the Country Club membership dynamic that buyers need to understand going on. Purchasing a home in Country Club Gardens does not automatically get you into the Metairie Country Club. Membership is separate. It's selective, and the social layer that comes with it is very much a part of what makes this community feel as intentional as it does. People here choose to be here. That's not an accident. It's by design, and it's been that way since 1926. But Country Club Gardens has a neighbor that plays a completely different game, and that's Delimon Place. Delimon Place and the new luxury lair. Delimon Place is a short, quiet, gated street tucked inside Old Metairie. And if you blink, you'll miss the entrance. That's intentional. The people who live here aren't looking for attention. They're looking for privacy, quality, and a very specific version of prestige that doesn't announce itself on the street. This is where Old Metarie's newer luxury lair lives. And when we say newer, we mean it in the best possible sense. Where Country Club Gardens gives you 1920s colonial revival bones with century-old oak and deep historic character, Delimon Place gives you custom builds with modern European finishes, resort-style pools, four-car garages, and the kind of interior specifications that buyers at this level expect. Chef's kitchens with commercial-grade appliances, primary suites that feel like private hotel floors, climate-controlled wine rooms, whole home generators, the infrastructure of serious luxury living built from scratch rather than retrofitted into a 100-year-old frame. We just represented the buyer side on 232 St. Peter Street, and that transaction taught us a lot about how this pocket of the market actually works right now. Without getting into specifics we can't share, what we can tell you is this: the negotiation dynamics at this price point are not forgiving to unprepared buyers. You don't get the luxury of 3 weekends and a few walkthroughs to make up your mind. When a well-priced home becomes available in a location like Delimon Place, the buyers who are already positioned, pre-approved, pre-educated, on the market, and with an agent who knows the seller's side, those are the buyers who close. Everyone else is writing an offer on a home that already has one. Days on market in this bracket, when the pricing reflects the product, are genuinely short. We're often talking under 30 days, sometimes under 2 weeks. The inventory is so limited and the buyer pool so specific that when the right home hits, it moves. And the buyers competing here aren't first-time luxury buyers figuring it out as they go. They're people who've bought at this level before, who know what they want, and who have the financial and professional infrastructure to move decisively. The lifestyle premium of Delimon Place is real and it's quiet. You're not buying into a neighborhood where people parade their success. You're buying into a street where your neighbors are accomplished, private, and completely unbothered by the outside world. That combination, absolute privacy, modern luxury finishes, and a 5-minute drive to the best restaurants in New Orleans is genuinely rare, and the market prices it accordingly. The real costs: renovation, insurance, and what nobody tells you. Now here's the part that most YouTube videos skip entirely, and it's the part that can genuinely make or break your budget if you go into this market without your eyes open. Let's start with the historic stock on Metairie Road and throughout Country Club Gardens, because this is where most buyers fall in love first. These Tudor Revival and Colonial Revival homes are stunning. The gabled roof lines, the brick facades, the mature oak canopy above, it all feels exactly right. And then you get inside the walls. What's behind those walls in a 1910 to 1930 home is often original plumbing, knob and tube electrical that hasn't been touched since Eisenhower, and foundation realities that require experienced, specialized contractors who understand how these structures actually behave. We're not saying this to scare you off. We're saying it because buyers who walk in without budgeting for it get surprised, and surprises at this price point are expensive. The drainage and elevation picture adds another layer. On Metairie Road itself, you're on the ridge and the ancient high ground we talked about earlier, and the soil is relatively stable. But as you move north toward the lake, the ground gets softer fast. Monsignor Bazou pointed this out decades ago while watching construction on Maryland Street. As you leave the ridge, the soil becomes silty and sandy, and you can't build on it without pilings. Some lots in the lower sections of Old Metairie require pilings 50 to 60 feet deep. That's not a footnote in your renovation budget. That's a line item that changes the entire project scope. On the preservation side, Old Metairie doesn't carry the same strict overlay as the French Quarter, but there are exterior guidelines that govern what you can and can't change on a historically significant property. Before you fall in love with a floor plan you want to reconfigure or a roof line you want to alter, understand what's permissible. Your architect and your agent need to walk through this with you before you're under contract, not after. Insurance is a conversation you need to have early. We send our clients to Lester Coe at TWFG specifically because he understands this market and can give you a real property-specific picture of what annual premiums look like on a 1.5 to 2.5 million Old Metairie home. What drives the premium, what you can control, and what you simply have to budget for. Don't wait until you're 2 weeks from closing to have that that conversation. Have it before you make your first offer. And the contractor availability issue is real. The best restoration contractors in this market, the ones who actually understand how to work inside a 1920s Tudor revival without compromising the structure or the character, are booked. Sometimes months out, if you're buying a home that needs significant work, you need those relationships lined up before you close, not after. We can help with that, and it's part of what we bring to the buyer's side of these transactions. Old Metairie rewards buyers who do their homework every time. Old Metairie is a decision. It's the most established, most architecturally significant, most private version of New Orleans living that exists, and it prices like it. Before you make an offer in this market, know your renovation budget down to the foundation level. Have your insurance conversation with Lester Co. of TWFG before you're under contract. And understand that days on market at this price point are short. The buyers who win here are the ones who've done the work before the listing goes live, not after. Whether you're 9 days or 90 days from your move, feel free to reach out to us. All of our contact info is in the description below. We love to help people make their smooth move to the Big Easy, and we know this market from inside out. Be sure to like, subscribe, and check out the next video. Considering a move from New York to New Orleans? Here's why everyone is moving. Because if Old Metairie caught your attention, that one is going to answer a lot of questions. Hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'll see you in the next one.